You know what? I'm gonna make this so easy and just cut to the chase. Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like you're just not interesting enough? Or maybe you think, why is it so hard to talk to people for me? Trust me, you are so not alone in this. But here's the thing, it's not that you're boring, very far from it. The truth is, you might just need a little bit of fitness when it comes to your social skills. And by the end of this video, you'll feel confident, you're gonna feel equipped, and dare I say, unforgettable in conversations. So let me quickly introduce myself and why you can trust the tips that I'm about to share in this video. I've spent years refining my communication skills through diverse experiences. From walking on runways across the world and winning multiple beauty pageants to then earning my university bachelor's degree specifically in communication. Best believe that I have developed strong social skills to excel in high-pressure environments. Now, these are not just some random basic tips with no context. No, these are proven strategies that you can use to connect with people from all walks of life for that matter. Whether it's networking with industry professionals, maybe making new friends, or just keeping the conversation going with friends or even family members at dinner. And even if I am still learning myself like the rest of us, through my university education, I've learned what works and what doesn't work. And I'm here to share those insider secrets with you. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to walk away with practical tools, real life examples, and a renewed sense of confidence in your ability to connect with anyone. So if you're ready to elevate your social skills, then please keep watching. Welcome to the Chic Evolution, your ultimate destination for fashion, beauty, and empowerment. I am a former top model and multiple beauty pageant winner. I've had the privilege of walking the runways from America to Europe. I've graced magazine covers, and my passion for helping others has empowered me to uplift those around me. So join me as I share insider tips on style, confidence, and living your best chic life. Because at the Chic Evolution, confidence is always in season. Welcome back to our little corner of the internet. Over here, we explore all things fashion, all things femininity, and of course, all things empowerment. Now, if you are new here, first of all, welcome to our little community of chic babes. And let me give you an official welcome as our new chic babe. Woo! So over here, we like to light up a candle at the beginning of each video just to set those good, chill vibes, just positive vibes around here. And towards the end of the video, we blow it out and I send you with a positive and uplifting affirmation. So definitely stay tuned for that. So I always invite you to light up a candle if you have one at home. And here's a little candle. Oh my God, it makes me so darn happy to light up a candle. Just perfect. Anyways, let's get started because we don't want to waste time here. Okay, so let's start simple. Eye contact. Honestly, it's one of the easiest ways to make people feel seen and valued. But, and this is important, don't overdo it. Think of it like seasoning a good plate of food, A little bit goes a long way. And actually, according to psychologist Dr. Barbara Fredrickson, maintaining eye contact for about 60 to 70% of the conversation can really boost connection. So now, how do you actually do this in real life? Let me give you an example. So when someone is speaking to you, look into their eyes for a few seconds, then glance at something else briefly, like their hands if they're gesturing when they're speaking, Why? Because this breaks the intensity while still showing that you're engaged in the conversation. And if you want a different example, let's say your friend is telling you about their day. You might want to look into their eyes as they start speaking and then glance away when they pause before responding. Just don't stare at them nonstop because obviously this can be very intimidating or very uncomfortable. And also try to avoid looking at your phone or looking around the room when someone is talking because it really signals disinterest. Now, this one is another tip that I needed to include on this list because you know what's worse than a conversation killer? A simple yes or no answer at the wrong time. So instead, try asking open-ended questions. So if you really don't know what I'm talking about here, let me give you a concrete example. So instead of asking someone, do you like traveling? Try, what's the most memorable place you've ever been? And you know who would agree with this approach? Dr. Dale Carnegie, who is the author of How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he says that the best way to be interesting is to be interested in others. So when meeting someone new, please steer clear of questions with one-word answers. So instead of asking, do you like movies? Say, what's a movie that left an impression on you? Because this invites them to share more, creating a natural flow of conversation. Because what you need to avoid is what we call in communication rapid fire questioning, which can really feel like an interrogation, to be honest. And another tip that I will add here is to try not to interrupt them while they're answering, even if you're so excited to share about your thoughts. And trust me, I know that this is easier said than done, but practice definitely makes perfect. Now, let's say you do all that and you are really trying to keep the conversation going, but the other person just keeps giving you very short answers. Then follow up with what some communication specialists call the curiosity follow-up technique. So if you ask them about a cool place they visited and they give you a one-word answer, try the curiosity follow-up technique. So you'd answer with something like, that's cool, what made that place so special to you? Because this will encourage them to elaborate and will give you a little break in the conversation. Now, let's talk about one of the strongest conversation skills, the art of complimenting. But here, you need to know that generic compliments like you look nice or you look good are fine, but specific ones like, oh my God, that color really brings out your eyes. Those kind of compliments, game changer when it comes to conversation. And this tip really is a 2-for-1 because it shows attentiveness and it makes you memorable in those conversations. Now, how do you actually do this in real life, in real conversations? Just start noticing small details about someone's appearance or someone's actions. For example, say, I love how you pair those shoes with your dress. It's such a nice combo. Or you can say something like, you always have the best movie recommendations. Just don't over-compliment or make comments that could be misinterpreted as insincere because you have to be kindly honest when giving compliments and just try to avoid generic phrases like you're cool or you're awesome because this doesn't really carry much weight. Just be genuine and be thoughtful. Like if you're in a professional setting, for example, and someone just did, let's say, a presentation on something, replace the boring, nice presentation, by the way, the slides were really simple for me to understand. Replace that and say something like, the way you explained that concept was so clear and easy to follow. You've got a talent for breaking things down. Now, this simple, straight to the point, and very memorable in a professional setting. Now, this might be the most important social skill one can ever have, and I mean it. I mean, have you ever noticed how powerful speakers have this thing for pausing, but like at the right time? That's because pausing shows confidence and it gives the listener time to digest your words. And according to this amazing communication coach, her name is Vanessa Van Edwards, a well-placed pause can really make you appear more thoughtful and more impactful. Now, you know I'm not just going to give theory over here. We need practical tips because all this research is good and all, but how do we actually put this in practice in real life? I'm going to tell you all of that. So practice pausing by taking a small pause after each sentence when explaining something. Or if you need a better hack, in conversations, try repeating the last word you just said, but in your head quietly before starting a new sentence. For example, if you're at work, let's say during a marketing meeting, this is what you do not want to do. You do not want to sound like this. I believe we should focus on marketing these tools to college students. They're highly engaged with similar campaigns. No. Pause or repeat the last word you said, but in your head. So it would sound something like this. I believe we should focus on marketing these tools to college students. They're highly engaged with similar campaigns. You see what I did there? I changed the entire impact of this sentence. So my advice to you would be to try not to fill pauses with filler words like or and I know that it's definitely easier said than done. And also try avoiding speaking too quickly during conversations because it can make you seem very nervous when you're not. Now, what if you try this and you still feel the urge to use those filler words like or because you don't want the conversation to just feel awkward? So try replacing the filler words with silence. Yeah, just silence. For example, if you're unsure how to respond when somebody is asking a question, instead of saying something like, while you're thinking about how to answer the question or what to say, just embrace the silence by taking a pause to say something like this. That's an interesting question. Let me think about it for a moment. And now you can be silent and think without feeling awkward. You're welcome. Here's a fun insider tip. Every elegant woman should have a go-to story or a little anecdote that's engaging and personal, but not controversial, of course. And it could be anything. It could be something funny, like about a funny travel mishap that you had, or the time you learned something surprising at a museum. It could be anything, because these stories act as a conversation anchor, ensuring that you're never at a loss for words. And if you have no idea where to start with this one, think about moments in your life that just made you laugh or taught you something valuable. We all have those stories, I feel. Just practice telling these stories naturally so they're ready when or if you need them in a conversation. Just make sure that you avoid overloading your story with unnecessary details or dominating the conversation. Don't make it all about you, and end with a question to involve the listener. And let me be more clear here, because I don't know if that's clear enough. I'm gonna give you an example, okay? Because I personally learn best with example. Let's say you just shared a funny story or an interesting story. After sharing your story, say something like, has anything like that ever happened to you? Or what would you do in this situation? This keeps the conversation balanced. Now, let's talk about conversation killers. And nothing kills a conversation faster than distractions. So show you're fully engaged by actively listening and responding thoughtfully. And I know how easier said than done this is, but try to put away your phone and focus on the person in front of you. Nod, smile, and ask follow-up questions that show you're paying attention. For example, you can say something like, you mentioned you started a new hobby. What got you into that? Don't check your phone or don't check your watch during a conversation. And also avoid responding with vague comments like, that's nice, without engaging further, like we've talked about earlier. But if we're being so honest here, we are human, okay? And human beings are not perfect. And sometimes, despite our best intentions, we get distracted in the conversation, even if we're fully trying to be present and engaged. So if this happens to you to the point where the person can notice that you're not really paying attention to what they're saying, just apologize and refocus. Instead of saying something like, wait, what did you say? I wasn't paying attention. Say something like, sorry, my mind wandered for a second. Can you tell me more about that? Now, let's talk about something that's very, very powerful in communication. Oh my God, the power of vulnerability. So sharing a little bit about yourself can make you more relatable because people naturally connect with authenticity, not perfection. For instance, if someone asks how your weekend was, instead of saying something like, it was fine, share something personal, like, it was fine. I finally watched this show I've been meaning to look at, and it made me think about X, Y, and Z. How about you? What was the last thing you watched that you found interesting? You see what I did there? This detailed communication technique gives the listener a chance to hear you, know more about your life, and not details that are too personal. But beyond that, it gives them the chance in return to engage with you on that same level. And with this one, just remember to not overshare or dive into overly personal details right away, unless that's something that you feel comfortable doing in the moment. My advice for this one would definitely be to just keep it light, keep it appropriate for the context of the conversation, because you need to balance vulnerability with curiosity by asking them about their experiences as well. Now, knowing how to end a conversation is just as important as starting one, so leave a lasting positive impression. So when it's time to wrap up, summarize something you've enjoyed about the conversation. Like, it was so great hearing about your trip. You've definitely inspired me to add it to my bucket list. Then you can also suggest staying in touch or catching up again on another day, or maybe catching up again on social media, and you guys can become social media friends or something. Just don't abruptly end a conversation without any closure. And also avoid vague goodbyes. Like, vague goodbyes are something like, okay, see you. Especially after someone just shared something new about their life, And remember that in conversation, it's so important to be warm. It's important to be specific. And if you have to end a conversation right away because, let's say, you're in a rush for whatever reason, or the person who you're talking to just keeps talking and talking and talking, and you really have to go. So instead of saying something like, okay, goodbye, gotta go, sorry, say something like, I'd love to chat more, but I really have to head out now. Let's catch up soon, okay? Now, the next one I'm about to share can be the one that completely changes the game for you. And I mean, I would even say that you can even forget about everything else I've said in this video and only remember this one thing, and you'll be able to upgrade your conversation skills like that, like instantly. And it all has to do with how our brains are wired. You see, people love hearing their own name. It makes them feel acknowledged. That's just the nature of us human beings, So that means using someone's name during a conversation can create a deeper personal connection. And in real life, you can also exercise this when you meet someone new. Repeat their name when they introduce themselves. So for example, let's say they say something like, "Hi, my name is Rachel." Don't say, "Nice to meet you." No, say, "Nice to meet you, Rachel." Then proceed to use their name naturally throughout the conversation. And let's say they say something interesting. You can say something like, "Rachel, that's actually very interesting. Thank you for sharing." What you need to avoid though with this hack is overusing their name to the point of awkwardness, because we don't want that. Oh, also make sure you are pronouncing their name correctly, and if you're unsure, definitely politely ask them to repeat it. Now, when you're in a conversation with someone and they remember your name, but even if they've already shared it with you before, you just can't remember their name for the life of you, and you're really there in the conversation trying to remember their name and you just can't. I mean, we've all been there, let's be honest, and it can be quite awkward sometimes. So instead of making it more awkward by not addressing it, be honest and say, "I'm sorry, I missed your name earlier. Can you remind me of it?" Most people really appreciate the honesty. You see, talking to people isn't about perfection. It's about being present. And as you saw, these hacks aren't just tips. They are tools to help you build genuine connections and to leave a lasting impression. My question for you is, what's one tip you've used to improve your communication? Or on this entire list, which one was your favorite? Share it in the comments. I'd love to know, and who knows, maybe you could help someone else on their communication journey. Just don't forget to don't forget to share this with someone who might find it helpful as well. And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more videos on communication and on confidence. And as always, before I let you go, let's turn off our candle and end with this. My chic babes, until our next encounter, let your uniqueness shine, let your self-love grow, and let your confidence inspire. And I'll see you when? I'll see you sooner than later. There you go. Look at all that. It's a wrap, baby. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Hey, it's a wrap.